Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us here for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the advisory, warning, and watch chart, we've got in yellow flood advisories here, south slopes of the Brooks Range, western Brooks Range, due to the recent rainfall that's falling in that area. And then the high surf advisory continues here for Point Hope and the north coast of the Seward Peninsula there. I believe that's west of Shishmaref. And then, of course, the north side of St. Lawrence Island. That out tonight into tomorrow until the winds, especially the winds here south of the strait, will be diminishing tomorrow, hanging on a little longer up here across the Chukchi Sea. Next up, fire danger, kind of an expanded area of extreme fire danger from what we had yesterday up here on the southern slopes of the eastern Brooks Range there. High fire danger in a narrow area there, swath extending down toward, but just north of the Yukon River. Otherwise, everywhere else, pretty good fire-wise, fuel moisture fire weather indexes, not reaching criteria of high or extreme. And for the satellite imagery today, see an elongated band of clouds here from actually Dixon Entrance, front pushing past the Queen Charlotte Islands, up across the Panhandle, in across all of southern Alaska here, kind of a break right through there due to a reversal in the wind direction. You can see this one rotating northeastward there. A lot of precipitation with that here across the southern Kuskokwim Valley areas into the Alaska Range, and then breaking out down across Bristol Bay. And this area of moisture, that's what brought all the rain into the western interior and wind last 24 hours. And this area back here coming down from the north with the main front pushing eastward. And that's responsible for the gusty winds, 25 to 50 miles an hour occurring from Cape Lisburne across the Chukchi Sea through the Bering Strait, and got gales in the forecast here along the southwest coast through tonight and into tomorrow. And colder air coming southward here out of the Russian Far East. A lot of showers, but breaks in the clouds there, especially around the Pribilof Islands today. And not too bad down across the Aleutians. Most of this moisture staying to the south, some of that scooting off to the east. So pretty good day here from the eastern Aleutians, Fox Islands, and Alaska, on out toward Adak, Atka, and on to Shemya, even all the way out to the Komodorskis. On the chart today, you can see the main frontal boundary here south associated with this low, 997 millibars, west of Prince of Wales Island. Rain all along the Panhandle today, occasional rain around Yakutat into about the Cordova area. They picked up 0.8 of an inch in the last 24 hours there at Cordova, and about an inch falling at Portage Glacier at the rain gauge there, with lighter amounts back to the west, about 1/3 of an inch, give or take here as you get into western Turnagain Arm and the greater Anchorage area, with some rain extending northward into the Talkeetna Mountains, scattered showers along the eastern Alaska Range area. Just some isolated thunderstorms, isolated a few lightning strikes here. This band of moisture shifting northward into the upper Yukon Valley, some showers over the north central interior areas, and then the rain and wind here from the western Arctic coast southward right into the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta area. Bethel picking up an inch of rain yesterday. Otherwise, today, Nome had a little bit over an inch of rain, the 24-hour period ending at 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon, 1.09 inches falling there. And pretty good rainfall amounts up to the northeast there with the flood advisories out. Kelly, 2/3 of an inch of rain. Kiana, about 1/2 an inch. And other areas over an inch falling there along some areas of the southern slopes of the western Brooks Range area there. Again, winds out here, gale force 25, gusting 50 miles per hour. here from Cape Lisburne, Point Hope, all the way down in toward Nunivak Island. Much lighter, you can see the gradient spreading out here, but still some showers there along the Alaska Peninsula, and a little bit of fog and drizzle there over toward the eastern Aleutians. Otherwise, not a bad day, especially on the south side of the islands. High pressure in control of the central and western Bering Sea, but there is more moisture off to the west there. We'll see tonight that just sort of sneaks into the far northwestern Bering. Otherwise, not much going on out there. A few isolated showers occurring around Adak over to Kiska Island. Otherwise, back into the fog and low clouds for Shimia with light winds. Winds and gale force winds continue here from, again, the Cape Lisburne area through the Chukchi Sea, all the way down along the southwest coast, becoming small craft advisories here for Bristol Bay, even lighter winds in store for the Alaska Peninsula. Pretty good area of rain, upper level trough shifting eastward, so some moderate showers occurring from the northern Kuskokwim Valley across the Alaska Range, Manuskas, the Sitna Valley. Areas of moderate, maybe even possibly heavy rain as this thing shifts eastward tonight from roughly the Manuska Valley southeastward into Prince William Sound, their northern Prince William Sound. That's where you'll see the heaviest precipitation, but that won't stay very long. It's all in an eastward moving progression there. So rain changes to showers there for the southeast coast. A lot of precipitation here up over the Tanana Valley, pretty good showers there, as well as up along and north of the Brooks Range to the eastern Arctic coast. And then for tomorrow, Sunday, numerous showers here, another trough swinging into this panhandle with showers extending, the heaviest looks like central northern areas, but showers all the way down across Dixon entrance to the Queen Charlotte Islands. Could see some isolated thunderstorm activity for the Wrangell Mountains northward there and across the eastern interior, but nothing really widespread. Maybe some lightning strikes with this trough back over the west central interior. Still looking at some pretty good showers to fall from the northern Kuskokwim Valley in and along the western Alaska Range, tapering off on down toward the Aleutian Range, becoming isolated for the Alaska Peninsula. Risk of a thunderstorm, Auckland, Kilbrook, Auckland mountain areas there in the afternoon. Otherwise, may see some sunshine, Dillingham into northeast Bristol Bay. It'll mostly be dry for Bristol Bay tomorrow, and now just some scattered showers, diminishing winds here along the southwest coast, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, maybe a peek at the sun in the afternoon, and staying quite windy though, but drier, definitely drier here for the Kivalina, Kotzebue area up to Point Hope. Could see some sunshine, downsloping winds. That should restrict all the precipitation on the north side of the Brooks Range there, but Koyukuk Valley looks pretty wet. Pretty gusty winds through the passes of the central Brooks Range, and windy conditions on the eastern Arctic coast there with periods of rain and fog through tomorrow. Otherwise, the Bering Sea again not looking too bad here. High pressure holding, ridging from the Russian Far East to actually the Arctic all the way down into the northwest Bering. And dry conditions, lighter winds to the Pribilofs, maybe some sunshine at times, all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula. Just a chance of some rain here. This system grazing the area from Nikolsky over to Atka with the possibility of some light rain or drizzle, but if it does occur, won't be very much at all, but the risk does exist. Scattered isolated showers back to the west with pretty light winds. And then for Monday, less shower activity here for the Panhandle and maybe some clearing periods with diminishing showers into the afternoon, becoming quite isolated toward evening. You can see not much off the coast here, warm front well to the southwest, so definitely drying out there. Pretty numerous showers, especially in the afternoon here for the Kenai Peninsula across Cook Inlet into the Alaska Range. Scattered showers to the Kuskokwim Valley with possible sunshine, Copper River Basin, maybe some clearing along the eastern North Gulf Coast, but shower chances 40 to 60%, give or take, say 50% for Prince William Sound, and also up in the Tanana Valley. Looks like a pretty good shot of rain now will be moving into the upper Yukon Valley areas across the Brooks Range to the Arctic coast. So the high fire danger really may get put out altogether. Definitely the extreme will up in this area with much wetter conditions, drying out on the central and western Arctic coast. Look for increasing sunshine here over the northwest interior areas, and the Seward Peninsula looking really good. Mostly sunny Kotzebue, Selawik on up to Kivalina to Point Hope. Dry on the western Arctic coast. Trough right through here, mostly cloudy. Showers, St. Lawrence Island down toward Macoriac, spreading into the Pribilof Islands. So mostly cloudy, chance afternoon showers there for St. Paul and St. George. Dry, partly sunny. Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island looking pretty good. and just a chance of some shower activity due to that low just to the southeast of the Alaska Peninsula, mostly from Sandpoint, Cold Bay over to about Falls Pass and King Cove. Back into partly sunny conditions, hopefully, for the eastern Aleutians there. Same thing for the central Aleutians. Way out west, very light winds, but may start to see some moisture increase in the afternoon there for Shimmy and Attu, but the wind field very light and variable out that way. For the temperatures this afternoon, for the southeast coast, mostly in the, let's see, upper 50s to lower 60s. 63 at Stewart, one of the warmer locations, 62 up at Skagway. Otherwise, state capital, 61 degrees, same thing there at Petersburg, as well as Klawock, 59 for Sitka, 60 degrees at Yakutat, and McCarthy popping up to 72 degrees this afternoon. Downsloping winds, south flow off the coastal mountains here, helping that temperature pop up. By contrast, just 54 over at Gunsight, 60 Gulkana, 68 Northway, 65 both at Delta and Fairbanks, and 64 degrees in Willow, 59 at Kenai, just 56 in Palmer, up to 60 at Homer, 59 Kodiak, and the Upper Yukon Valley, Fort Yukon, 57 degrees, Eagle at 70. 40s north coast, or the North Slope area, upper 30s there for the Central Arctic coast, Atchison 37, 38 at Point Lay, lower to mid 40s in the northwest, but Kotzebue up to 57, 62 at Ambler, and 63 degrees here at Caltag with 49 over at Nome. Elam 61, or no, Koyuk 61. Unalakleet at 55, 57 McGrath, lower to mid 50s here out toward the across the deltas to 40s, upper 40s for the coast. 53 at St. Paul, lower to mid 50s Alaska Peninsula. Nikolsky just 49, 55 though at Atka, and lower 50s out to Shimia. Lows for tonight, lower to mid 30s here, coming down near the frost point there for the Barrow area. Otherwise mid 30s to upper 30s through the purplish area here right up and including the Western Brooks Range. South of the mountains though, 40s to mid 50s. Still another pretty mild night for the Upper Yukon Valley. 40s south of the Alaska Range, 50s for the Panhandle, and 40s for the Aleutians. And for tomorrow's highs, lower 50s for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, with 50s to near 60 here. So kind of a cool day coming up for south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, maybe the lower 60s, and Panhandle right around 60. Cooler north of the Brooks Range, upper 30s to mid 40s. Flying weather, swath of VFR here from the Noatak Valley southeastward into the interior tonight. Lots of marginal VFR to the south, north of the Brooks Range, or from the Brooks Range north, quite an area of IFR up there out to the Arctic coast. Otherwise, marginal for the Bering Sea to VFR, some IFR there over the southeast part of the Panhandle, quite an area of IFR out over the western Bering Sea to the Aleutians. Tomorrow afternoon, that diminishes. We've got an increased IFR area, though, here from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, the north side of Nunivak Island, right along the Yukon Delta coast. Marginal VFR extending inland toward the central interior. Breaking out to VFR, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, and Kodiak Island. Marginal VFR now North Gulf Coast down across all of the Panhandle. And some more IFR here over the west central Aleutians. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan, both marginal VFR, Western Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, and Rainy, all marginal at times throughout the day tomorrow. Same thing for Windy. Isabel starting out marginal, becoming VFR. That same trend also in the forecast from Antasta. Tonito, though, IFR to start with, only becoming marginal in the afternoon, but an improving trend, though. And same thing for Portage, starting out IFR, might be a little optimistic or ambitious pushing it to VFR, but if those winds turn westerly, it will happen. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels, cold air here out of the Russian Far East, another batch coming southward, the original one here coming eastward, right across the Gulf of Alaska, 7,000 to 8,000 foot freezing levels for the Panhandle. Warmer conditions, east-southeast flow continuing up over the north and northeast interior areas here. And for icing, looking areas above about 8,000 feet, coming down to about 7,000 feet. Light to isolated moderate rime or possibly mixed icing here across all of the southeast interior, coming down to about 4,000 feet and up for the Panhandle, those lower snowfall levels. And for the jet stream, upper level low, first cold low here coming across, the Kenai Peninsula, and pretty good jet on the south side of that, 140 knots out of the west, falling back to 70 knots over the southern Bering Sea with that next cold upper low. Not quite as cold though, but that's swinging south-southeastward. This one kicking into British Columbia. And for 9,000 feet, still pretty gusty winds, 25 to 30 knots from the eastern Arctic coast. Right across the Western Brooks Range, 40-knot winds right through here. Northerlies up to 25, northeast 25, central eastern Aleutians light and variable out to the west. 3,000 feet, same pattern, northeast 35, up to 40 knots again across the Western Brooks Range, and then diminishing as you get south of the Bering Strait, down to 15 knots for the Pribilofs. Westerlies 25. Right across the Gulf of Alaska, diminishing in across the Panhandle, light and variable here over the southern interior. Turbulence-wise, moderate chop pretty likely here, especially across the Brooks Range, especially western Brooks Range, down to St. Lawrence Island, improving in the afternoon in this area, but holding on for the Chukchi Sea. Light to isolated moderate chop, Kodiak Island, southern Kenai Peninsula, and from about Falls Pass on out to Adak. And after the break, I'll be back with the Ice Edge and the marine forecasts.
Next, you will approach Berners Bay, Bridget Point, and Echo Cove, which will be to the right. After passing Berners Bay, Point St. Mary's is the next reporting point. Keep in mind, Berners Bay is important as a reporting point. Most poor weather conditions for the Lynn Canal are generated in this area. Adiabatic winds descending from the ice fields to the north of Berners Bay can create fog or turbulence depending on the temperature dew point spread. Tour operators will normally report Sherman Point on the other side of Berners Bay and Eldred Rock Lighthouse. Sullivan Island is to the left. In the vicinity of Eldred Rock, pilots frequently cross the Lynn Canal towards Sullivan Island to fly up the Chilkat Inlet to Haines. When crossing the canal, remain within gliding distance of shore. Haines Peninsula separates Chilkat Inlet to the left from Chilkoot Inlet to the right. There is a landing strip at Glacier Point at the foot of Davidson Glacier that can be used in an emergency. Davidson Glacier, which will be off to the left, is a route used by the tour operators into Glacier Bay. It is also a reporting point that has a lot of traffic during the summer months. Continuing towards Haines, Rainbow Glacier, which is a hanging glacier to the left of your flight path, is also used as a reporting point. Alexander Island is just abeam Davidson Glacier and Pyramid Rock, just before reaching the city of Haines. Both are reporting points for entering the traffic pattern at Haines. Haines has quite a bit of traffic in the summer months. Tour operators pick up tourists for glacier tours. Haines has one of the few roads in southeast Alaska that connects to the Alcan Highway. The Alaska Marine Highway, or ferry, stops in Haines with potential passengers from outlying areas. Operators based in Haines serve the local population and ferry passengers with transportation in southeast Alaska to areas where there are no roads or ferry service. Weather can change rapidly, and high winds blowing across the runway are common. There is a bluff to the northwest of runway 826. There are strong crosswinds due to wind descending over the bluff. Moose and bear are known to be in the vicinity of the runway, so be cautious on the approach. There is transient parking available, but services are limited. Fuel can be obtained by calling the phone number listed at the pumps. When departing Haines, avoid flying over the town at low altitudes. The people of Haines are very noise sensitive. 135 operators will be reporting the Davidson Glacier descending inbound to Haines. Be especially aware of traffic around you as you climb out. Returning to the Lynn Canal, you will again pass Pyramid Rock, Alexander Island, Davidson Glacier, and Rainbow Glacier. As you move out of Chilkat Inlet into the Lynn Canal, your next set of checkpoints will be Sullivan Island and Eldred Rock Lighthouse. As you continue toward Juneau, you will see Berners Bay, Benjamin Island, Eagle Beach, Tea Harbor, and finally, Lena Point. It is important that you know where the reporting points are located in order to spot reporting traffic in the Lynn Canal. Alaska Airlines VFR descent is across Barlow Cove to the Cut or Funter Bay to South Tip. Be alert to traffic arriving from the southwest. Lena Point is the first reporting point into the Juneau Airport. The approach into Juneau requires vigilance because many aircraft will be approaching and departing the Juneau Airport and Float Pond area. Subsequent reporting points when approaching for runway 08 are Coghlan Island, then Battleship Island, if requested, the Cut, South Tip, and final approach. If you are interested in traveling to other locations in Alaska, please view the appropriate videotape.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis, not much different from yesterday. Maybe 1 to 3 tenths in this zone right here, otherwise pretty well sea ice free. And the ice edge not changing much from what it was yesterday or the day before. Not expected to really change a whole lot over the next 4 or 5 days. So moving on to coastal forecast, southwest 20 knots from most of the coast tomorrow along the Panhandle, 7 to 10 foot seas. Strongest winds, highest waves will be here on the south coast at 25 knots with 11 feet. Otherwise, small craft advisories tomorrow afternoon. Northern Lynn Canal 25, seas 5 feet. Otherwise 15 to 20 from the south on down to Dixon Entrance. Monday 10 to 15 out of the south here inside waters. 20 knots down a little bit on Monday there for Northern Lynn Canal. Winds coming down pretty good here out along the coast. Down to 15 knots, but still most of the area seeing small craft advisories due to the sea heights at 8 to 9 feet. And for Prince William Sound, light southeasterlies tomorrow at 10. Cook Inlet north of the Forelands, south 15, but small craft advisory south of the Forelands turning west 25, Kachemak Bay. 40 knot westerly winds in the forecast for Shelikof Strait tomorrow, otherwise 30 knots east side of Kodiak up to the western North Gulf Coast. And for Monday, light variable winds take over just about everywhere, down to 10 knots everywhere except here, southwest 15 for Kodiak, seas at about 5 feet. Bristol Bay, west, gale force westerlies tomorrow, at least for a portion of the day at 35 knots, 11 foot seas, northwest 20 to 25 across the peninsula, and west from Castle Cape to Sitkinak at 25. Much lighter on the next day and more variable. As you can see, southwest 15 Bristol Bay, light and variable on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, but still small craft advisories. Northeast 25, 9 foot seas south of the peninsula. For the eastern Aleutians, northeast 20 to 25 knots, picking up to 30 knots, 25 to 30 knots. So good small craft advisories in across Adak and Atka, falling back to 20 knots there west of Amchitka. And then light variable winds coming up from Monday out that way, and 20 knots out of the north, mostly across Atka, eastward, 15 to 20 all the way to Unalaska Island. And for tomorrow, southwest coast, gales coming down to 30 knots though for St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise northwest 35, even south of Nunivak Island, seas 12 feet. North 20 for the Pribilofs, northwest 25, St. Matthew Island, 10-foot seas. And for Monday, northwest 15 for the Pribilofs, 20 knots here for St. Matthew Island, 30 knots holding there for St. Lawrence Island with 9-foot seas. Otherwise just 15 knots here for the southwest coast. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, small craft advisories tomorrow. Northeast 25, seas 6 to 7 feet. Northwest 20 for the central coast, picking back up to 25. So we've got small craft advisories turning into gales from Cape Beaufort, northeast 35. And then northerlies from Cape Thompson on down to Wales at 35 knots. So the seas at 12 feet. Monday, coming down a little bit, just under the gale force threshold, but holding at 30 knots here, 9 to 10-foot seas. Small craft advisories continuing both on the western coast and the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Northeast 25 knots, 6-foot seas. Central coast coming down a little bit there to 20 knots out of the northeast. For tonight, pretty wet along the Brooks Range north out to the Arctic coast there. Also more precipitation in over the central interior here, moderate showers down in toward the Kuskokwim Valley area, Alaska Range, and a pretty good shot of rain coming across the Madanuska Valley area and into Prince William Sound with this upper trough, and showery conditions pretty frequent over the southern panhandle. And for tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms, cool, chilly, pretty wet central interior down to the North Gulf Coast and the panhandle. And then the outlook for Monday, drier conditions for the panhandle, maybe a few breaks, less shower activity.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.